What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Georgia Boy Outdoors and the very first episode ever
of The Reel.
of The Reel with my co-host Colt 45. Let me tell y'all what we got going today. You know, we have been talking about doing this for a while, haven't we?
Yes, sir.
You know, you see the weekly fishing reports that come out on Facebook, and they're great. You see the stuff that's in magazines and some of the information that we have available. But, you know, me and Colt's talking, man, if we could bring this to life, you know, get it in front of a camera, have some fun doing it, you know, and I'll tell y'all kind of what we're doing here from our little makeshift studio that happens to be Colt 45's bedroom. His mama said there ain't no funding for a real studio, so there that is. But we're going to have special guests call in from time to time. We're going to have a main topic of the week. This week's topic is Satillaology. So we'll get back to that in a minute, but we're going to talk water levels each week. Where's a good place to fish? You know, what's biting, weather, all kind of stuff like that. So it should be a lot of fun, but we're just going to kind of wing it. So we'll dive off into this week's topic, which is Satillaology. You know, we're talking the Satilla. And we're talking right now, springtime especially. You know, some of the main things we're going to go through are the water levels that are good. I'm looking at my notes. If you see me getting cross-eyed here. Where the fish are going to position according to those water levels. The spawn, lure options, float trips, all kind of cool stuff in today's episode. Then at the end, we'll kind of break down what might be your best place to fish this week and what's going on with the weather and all that. So, you ready to bail off in it?
Yes, sir.
Water levels. Let's go ahead. I'm going to throw this question to Colt 45. Colt, we're talking the 158 gauge and the Waycross gauge. What's a good level? What would you tell somebody? And you know, think about it here. Yeah. What would you tell somebody if they said, hey man, I'm coming to the river. What's a good level to fish?
I don't really know, about 5, 7.
5 to 7.
Lower the better. And
lower the better. That he brings out a good point, especially if you're a kayak fisherman. You want to be lower than I'd say really 6 foot. And if you're in a boat, that 5 to 7 range is perfect. You can check those gauges at waterdata.com, but all you got to do is a quick Google search. Satilla River water level, it'll pop right up. Check those levels. You know, it always kills me. And me and Colt see this several times a summer. We'll run across somebody at the river, and what will they say? They'll say something like this. Oh, I didn't know it was this high. Well, how did you not know? It's online. And I'm going to throw this out there, and it might make some people mad. If you don't check the gauges before you go, and me and Colt 45 do, we're going to outfish you 9 times out of 10. Not because we're great world-class fishermen.
Well, I am, but I don't know.
Maybe he is. But seriously, you know, that's the thing. I mean, we check the weather. We look at the wind. We look at all this. But what about that water level? I mean, that determines kind of how your trip's going to go, what you're going to throw. There's certain levels. Me and Colt know, okay, well, at 158, if it's 7 foot or higher, the only thing we're even going to try to throw is a buzzbait. Yeah. Because why? Because the current and everything else. So, and if it's really low and slow, we know we can go with slower approaches like a wacky worm. And like I said, we'll dive off more into the lure stuff in a little while. But you got to really know your levels, gauge that success. You know, be able to say, okay, I'm going to be successful here. You can't just go where you want to go. Yeah. And Colt can tell you that. You know, I don't know how many times he said, can we go to such and such bridge? Can we go to, and he's learned real quick. Sometimes it don't matter where you want to go. If you want to catch fish, is where you need to go. So, where the fish are going to be positioned this time of year? What do you think, Colt? Where's the kind of places that people should look?
The creeks.
Yep, creeks.
Any kind of structure of wood.
Yeah. Some of the lakes are good. Yeah, like he said, I'm going to go right back to what he said with the creeks, and that's probably one of our favorite places because you have a few things going on with a creek as opposed to a lake. Biggest thing is you got fresh current coming in from that creek and also fresh food, crawfish, little pike, all kind of stuff that bass can't normally, you know, smack on. Yeah. It's flowing in there, and it's like a buffet. Plus, right out front of that creek, there's a flat normally, and that's like a good place that you'll find fish, you know, that are pre-spawn. So, yeah, definitely creek flats, timber, like he said, wood structure, timber, you know, especially if you're fishing the current. Fish are going to be holding to that. And if you can find shallow timber, that's also a place that fish will try to set up pre-spawn. So, and then the lakes, that's an obvious, I think that goes for any part of the country you fish, you know, the lakes, or any river in the country you fish, they're going to pull up in those lakes. And what would you say about the lakes? Where would you recommend people look?
On the mouth,
Yep.
if it's like colder.
Yep.
And if it's warmer, maybe a little more in the back. You just don't want to go too far, I would say.
Hey, yeah, perfect. Absolutely, man. You know, the cooler the water is, man, this boy, I mean, he is going to be a Satilla River legend. I'm here to tell y'all. He might, I was about to say he might already be, but I'm going to take that back. But the cooler the water, look, the closer to the mouth of the lake. As the water gets warmer, just 65 degrees like anywhere else, is when the good Lord says, hey, it's time to lay them eggs. And them big girls, this is what you should get excited about in the Satilla this month. The big fish are going to move up first. So, you know, you got to be really paying attention, and it's a shame. The only thing with the gauges, a lot of them now, the temperature gauge don't work anymore.
Yeah.
So what's a good thing to do to check the temperature?
Get a meat thermometer. That's what you do.
Take your grilling thermometer, boys. I mean, if you don't have electronics on your kayak, and we don't, because they won't do us any good where we're going. It's just more weight to drag in the kayak with the batteries and all. But bring you a good grilling thermometer. You know, check that temperature. That's going to tell you if the water's 58, man, I'm not going up in no lake. But if the water's 62, 63, oh, you better bet me and Colt's going to really comb through every lake and creek flat we come to looking for some of those pre-spawn fish. So, you know, and we'll dive like on off into the spawn there. And I'm going to add to that, you know, the river systems, especially Satilla, it's a little different than some of your lakes. You know, your lakes have like a big 2-week period where the spawn happens and then it's over. But
you got pre-spawn, spawn, and after spawn.
Yeah, post-spawn.
Post-spawn.
In the Satilla, and man, it can go on for months. I've been fishing this river 30 years. I've seen fish on the bed regularly in June or July. You know, and even in fall, it's the latest I've seen ones in October one time. So as crazy as that is. So, you know, the spawn is not going to be just this tiny window, but the window I want y'all to be looking at is that very first. You know, as that water starts creeping up, river starts falling out, you got to call in sick. Tell your wife that you're going to do your chores the weekend, but whatever day it is, you got to get down there and catch them jokers, because that's when you can really catch those big fish early in the year. So let's talk some lures real quick, Colt. Let's go tell me what you're going with.
I like this.
All right.
Because it has like the body to it, that tail's flapping, and then you already got the little spin.
Yeah, Colt, he's right. This right here is our Georgia Boy lures, and it's the Macho Minnow buzzbait, the blackout buzzbait. We're about always throwing 1/4 ounce most of the time. We will go down sometimes when the water gets hot. Colt caught some really big fish last year on the tiny ones, and we will go up sometimes. So, but a buzzbait's a great search tool. That's all we're doing with a buzzbait this time of year leading up to the spawn on the river. We were just floating, because majority of the time we're doing float trips. We can cover water with a buzzbait. Then we come to those little creek flats like Colt was talking about earlier.
Throw out the drag chain.
Yeah, throw out the drag chain, really slow down. Work that wacky worm really slow. This is a Georgia stick worm. And we can pick up some of those pre-spawn or spawning fish that we're talking about. And that's our strategy. So, you know, it's kind of just like a hurry up and wait. Yeah. We're moving. Then we're going to slow down and see what we can catch. So, float trips. That's next on my notes. What's some of your areas, you know, just the areas you like to float the most, Cole?
Highway
158.
158.
I can read it on you, son. I can read. I'll tell y'all why. I can tell y'all why, because he caught some really big bass down there last year. So when I couldn't, I was on a dry spell, and this boy, was it back-to-back weeks? I think in 2 weeks' time,
2 weeks.
he had 2 fish.
5 pounds.
More than 5 pounds. And one was close to 6. So let's take a look at those fish really quick, and we'll get right back to y'all. So what do y'all think about that? I'm telling y'all, my man Colt 45 is the real deal.
I'm a legend.
He's a legend. And all jokes aside, that's what I want y'all to gather from what we're talking about. This isn't rocket science. Colt's 11. He's 11. We're fishing out of a kayak. We don't have a big flashy bass boat. You know, neither one of us are going to be on the pro tour. Well, Colt might be one day. But we're just normal folks that are fishing. This is easy to do if you know where to look. And that stretch he's talking about, 158 to US 1, it's an all-day float, and it's going to float really good, 5 to 7 foot range. You don't want the, be sure I hadn't hit on this yet. Be sure and look at that cubic foot per second. That's the speed of the river. And I'm going to say 150 would be perfect. But perfect's hard to get a lot of times. Sometimes it's going to be way slower than that. And sometimes way faster. I wouldn't try to fish it if it was faster than 300 or maybe 400 if you're going to throw a buzzbait and then target the little lakes and creeks.
Or
and
if you have a boat, big boat.
Well, if you have a boat, you could go in at 158 and make your way down river. Yeah. Because I'm going to tell you, if you try to go up, that gets hammered really, really hard. And then you're going to get blocked right if you look on a map where the 17 dumps in. You remember that big log right there? You're not getting through there. So if you put in it with a boat, that's important. Go down from 158 as far as you can and fish your way back up. But if you're doing the float trip, expect it to be an all-day float, and you'll take out at the US 1 bridge, and hey, there's no parking lot there. Yeah. Woo, boy, that's making me sweat just thinking about taking out there. Me and Colt's about had a heart attack a few days during the summer. So I will caution you, when you take out at 1, it's probably, how far would you say it is? A football field or two? It's probably 100, 200 yards. That's probably 200 yards from the river to the highway. But that last little bit is uphill. And you want to take out, if you look on your map, look where Fat Daddy's ATV park is. Don't take out on that side of the river, so where the park is. Take out on the opposite side. Make sure you stay close to the bridge, because that is private property when you get away from the bridge. And there's a little spot there. You can bet you probably see it on Google Earth where you can park a car, pull your kayak up there, and finish your float out. So that's going to be the float trip we recommend, and it's probably going to set up. I was looking at some weather reports today. I might end up being wrong here, but if we can not get a lot of rain, they're projecting some really warm weather the first week of March, which the weatherman, he's let us down a time or two. So, but that first week of March could really set up to be a good time. So start looking at that first week of March, 158 to US 1. I think that would probably be a really good float to do. So I guess now we'll dive right off into where they're biting at now. What do you think, man?
They're all blown out.
Yeah, the rivers are blown out bad. Me and Colt won't lie to you. We went out and do a little fishing this weekend. Let's talk about that for a second. Or not talk about it. Terrible. So we drive an hour and a half to Little Okmulgee State Park. Great place to fish. Get over there. The wind's in our favor. Everything's pretty good. Water's a little cool. And we look, the sun comes up. What's the water, man?
Chocolate milk.
Looks like chocolate milk, like a darn bottle of Yoo-Hoo. So we fished there 45 minutes. We decided on the way home to stop at General Coffee State Park. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it has a lot of like animals and all. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat place.
Yeah, like you can always catch a bass, I would say, if it's pretty nice weather.
Right outside of Douglas, Georgia, at Coffee State Park. I guess it's really more Nichols. Little farm pond type lake there. We caught a few fish. We didn't get down there till about 9:30 or so. Fished a little while, piddled around, like Colt said, looked at some of the animals, kind of messed around, but caught a few small fish. Cool place to check out. But yeah, the rivers are trashed right now. The swamp could be a good option for somebody this week. But there again, the swamp's kind of out in the prairie. So if you're going to do that, I would probably target mudfish. I mean, hey, they'll bite, they'll pull hard. And they're mean. So sound a lot like Colt's mama sometimes. But anyway, she doesn't bite most of the time. But anyhow, so the mudfish might be a good option in the boat basin down. And you might even work out some of these warm afternoons into the canal and target some jacks, you know. Maybe throw in a spinner or something like that.
I'm going to get a little bit off subject, but like the Satilla, once the the river level goes down to like 5 or 7, like I was talking about, they gonna be fat because they're already like eating all the crawfish in the woods and.
Yeah, man, and Colt said he can't get his mind off that Satilla, neither can I. Yeah, they're out feeding right now. Going back to that, when the Satilla does set up, that could be, what's the date today? It's right around the 20-something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sometime or another. But really, I mean, in the next 10 days, it could fall out. I mean, it's already started to drop. I seen a little while ago when I was looking at the gauge. It's starting to drop, and I cannot stress that enough. When it sets up right, you got to be there for it. So I was trying to think, is there any other good, hey, Rutland might be a good option.
Yeah.
Rutland Farms got a story coming out that I worked on for GON Magazine. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe at GON.com. But we had a few good trips over there. Mm-hmm. So especially throwing the Ned rig and stuff back during. You can check out
some pretty big ones if you get it right.
Yeah, y'all can check out some of those videos. They're on our page. I can't remember if they're titled Pay Ponds or whatever. But anyway, $20 to fish there. Kids 15 and under fish free. It's only $10 if you go after one. And that's what me and Colt did. So $10 for me and him to fish a bunch of private ponds. That's right outside of Tifton, so that's a good option. Paradise PFA, they're still catching the crappie, speckled perch, white perch, sac-a-lait. Such a funny word, man. You know, you don't know what to call a crappie. What do you call them? Delicious. So that's a good option. You could even bank fish for them at Lake Patrick. But anyway, so I reckon with that, we'll go to the weather. Miley, what do you got for us?
It's been raining a lot.
All right. Thank you, Miley. Not very detailed, but we'll take it. She happens to be our weather girl for the real. But all jokes aside, maybe the rain's starting to move out. Looking like March is traditionally a month where things start to take a swing. Hopefully, like we said, the river sets up right. In the meantime, check out some of those lakes and ponds we talked about. The swamp might be a good option. Some fishing is always better than no fishing. So some of the products we talked about, you go to GeorgiaBoyLures.com. You got the Macho Minnow Buzz Bait, Blackout Buzz. I got the Gold Digger right here. Don't got everything in here. It'll take a month to go through, but you got the Georgia Stick Worm that we wacky rig. You got Colt 45 spinnerbait, Swamp Spiders. Colt's talking about the new hats. Those are sweet. It's the GBL. Hold it a little closer there. And since it's the first episode of The Real, we'll give y'all a code right now. Use the code, it's all caps, The Real, THEREEL. Woo, I'm glad to say the spelling bee. Use that to save 10% at GeorgiaBoyLures.com. That's GABoyLures.com. Thank y'all so much for checking out this very first episode right here live from the Colt 45 studio in his bedroom. But we're going to get back to our chores, try to stay out of trouble with Colt's mama. My man Colt 45, you got anything?
We'll see you next time. Out of order.
Unless it's raining.
And cut.